Good evening. This is the October meeting of the Norwalk Parking Authority, the Park Norwalk Board. And it's our regularly scheduled meeting, and the agenda is on the screen for those of you that are watching on your devices or computer. The first order of business is the call to order. So, Brian, if you do a roll call.
So we have President Eric Rains, Peter Fulham, Jessica Larsh, as well as our LAS reps from as Sirac and Lewis.
Excellent. Thank you. And yourself, Brian Lutz.
And then I'll add for record if Judd and Matt show up a little later.
Okay, perfect. So with that, since we have a quorum, we can review and act on the meetings from the September meeting. Are there any questions or discussion items? Hearing none, if I could have a motion for approval or acceptance.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the September meeting of the Parking Authority.
And I'll second.
Thank you, Peter. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. So that carries. Thank you. The public participation portion of the meeting is open to anyone who wants to make a brief presentation of whatever point it is they'd like to convey. We would ask that you keep it to 3 minutes. And please keep in mind that the format is that we're here to listen to what it is that's being presented. And it's not really intended to be so much as a dialogue. If there are things to respond to, we will do it at a future meeting. So if there are if there's anyone from the public who'd like to speak, please raise your hand and you'll be led into the meeting.
Ms. Cece, you are unmuted.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. Diane Cece, Olmsted Place, and with East Norwalk Neighborhood Association. And I appreciate the fact that it's for public comment and not a dialogue, but I would also offer myself up, maybe reluctantly, maybe I shouldn't, but I have some comments to make, but I'd be happy to hang on. If anybody had any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. I'm speaking to you tonight on the item under old business, an update on the proposed residential parking program ordinance. Because I was on the Zoom last night for the ordinance committee of the Common Council, we don't really get to see on Zoom who else may have been there. So I don't know if representatives of the parking authority attended the meeting or if we've had an opportunity to review the hearing on that. But I just wanted to reiterate some of the comments that I made there, and then also be able to email in some additional comments and clarifications at a later date as you move through this. So a lot of the conversation that happened last night with staff and with the Common Council members revolved around trying to get a comfort level and a balance of the authority of, excuse the pun, the authority of the parking authority versus having control by elected officials for something coming back through the Common Council. So there was a lot of discussion on that. And I think at one point, Brian Candela even had suggested that if somewhere down the road things weren't working out, then the council would still retain their power to come back to the parking authority and then rescind this ordinance or require it to be modified. And I'm not quite sure if that's actually true or not, but I think it's something that we should follow up on. The important thing too that I wanted to get across to you folks tonight is that in the way that this was going to go out, which was also discussed last night, was that the NPA was going to be charged with actually developing the draft and then putting that out for a 30-day comment period before having a public hearing. And what ended up happening was they decided that it's probably best to have the draft and the comment period, and then take into account all of those comments and maybe make adjustments, etc., and then have another comment period. I'm not sure if that was 30 days or not, and then a final public hearing. But what I wanted to suggest to you is that rather than the parking authority and TMP kind of in its own vacuum developing the draft, that most of the best practices that ENNA has been looking at suggest that you should have a stakeholder group that's a part of developing the draft before it goes out for comment period. So with neighborhood associations, typically a representative from the police department, a lot of them recommend having a planning and zoning official, and a few other folks as well. And I hope that you'll consider doing that, because I think getting the feedback with a really good, robust ad hoc stakeholder group on the front end could go a long way in working out kinks and making it the best draft that you can before it goes out. And then I wanted to say, I'm sorry, I'm losing my place around my scribble. Another point of concern was the fact that the cities typically require a petition process in order to make any kind of changes that would impact residents on a street. And there's a lot of concerns about whether that would be the best method in this particular situation, because at least in many of the pockets in East Norwalk, as you folks know, we have a lot of properties that aren't owner occupied, they're rentals. And we also have a lot of illegal apartments as well. So we're not sure that may be the only way or the fairest way to determine whether a street should be eligible or not. And then my final point is Josh Goldstein Councilman Josh Goldstein had suggested last night that one of the solutions would be for the to be able to go back and amend the ordinance. And maybe someone from your team can speak to this tonight about what authority the council does have once this ordinance comes under your purview. And I'm certain that I went over my time, and I appreciate you indulging me. And I hope that I'm welcome to send in email comments later as well. Thank you.
You certainly are, and we appreciate your comments. I think they're very constructive. So thank you. So if there's no one else from the public, Darlene, do you see anybody?
No, there is not.
Okay, great. So then on the reporting, the first up is engineer and project report.
Okay, so I have a couple of updates from the current infrastructure projects that we're currently working on. The first one is the Haviland Deck project. As a reminder to everyone, including the public, that the infrastructure repair project started in late July at the Haviland parking deck, and it's progressing well. The concrete repairs are approximately 90% complete. Additional photos documenting the project's progress are included in the agenda packet. The project is being executed in phases, which has effectively minimized disruptions by maintaining the available parking. So far, the only closure that we had to do was during the week before Labor Day, which was decided by the majority of the businesses to perform prior to September, because they were September's busier than the last week of August. So we really wanted to, closing a deck, closing a parking garage is very challenging and something we never want to do. But when we got the engagement with the businesses, they really urged us to try to get this done sooner rather than later. So we leveraged that to perform those repairs. There will be discussion about how we can phase the waterproof sealant part of this project instead of doing another closure. But that part's getting pushed probably to the spring. We're just running out of time with the cold weather. So the schedule's planned is to complete all concrete repairs and the painting by the end of November. The contractor will then pause operations for the winter and resume work in the spring when temperatures are favorable. We will continue to provide updates as the project is fully completed, just to keep everyone, just abreast of what's happening. As you can see in the pictures in the presentation I have, you'll see some of the repairs, like the middle picture was actually full depth concrete repairs there with tendon repairs for numerous of them throughout the facility. So it was a good thing we did it. And it's going to make sure this facility is in a good state of repair.
Is that it, Brian?
Did I break up?
No, is that it?
That's it. Sorry. Yes, sir.
So I just wanted to say that I think that the outreach that you guys and Laz did to the businesses and the residents around there is a huge important component to how this has gone, and you guys should be, or certainly to be commended for that. And then, secondly, knowing that this garage, both levels, support not only the residential component around Haviland and Washington and Sono, it also supports all the businesses. So the fact that these issues were identified and addressed in such a thorough manner, it says to me that the facility will be on a good track for the next decade at least. So when you said full depth replacement of concrete, I mean that's pretty significant surgery on a post tension structure. So this is by no means an insignificant project, and speaks to the importance of taking on repairs and maintenance, in a responsible way that you guys have done. Is really to be commended.
Thank you. And one of the things I really want to push on operations here is that we have a few assets in that area, and just giving the business owners, giving the residents just alternative places to go in advance is a big help. So it might, if you get forced to park at Maritime Garage, you might just walk a block more from where you're going, but at least the businesses can direct their customers and update their website. So, no one really comes to Park Norwalk's website. So getting that information out there, so the businesses, the restaurants, the stores can at least inform their customers on their social, on their, maybe how to get here sites, is a big bonus for them. And that's why I think for any other potential larger impacts, we need to get in front of them way in advance so they have time to update this, so we can do this in a smooth way. Like, we're trying to be consistent with that so it is effective.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic.
Any other questions on this item? If not, I'll move on to the next project that we have. And I'm like stunned. I'm like stunned by this, to be honest with you. Been here for 2 years, and I remember I remember when I first came here, I saw this project. I was on the plate as soon as I joined the team at TNP. I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. But I'm pleased to report that the Yankee Doodle Garage aesthetic project started on the 30th of September. The contractor promptly began power washing the facade and removing fencing and signage to prepare the painting of those ribs. I've documented the progress with photos, which demonstrate the transformation already underway. The attached images include a baseline photo from late summer. That's at top left. That was taken when those invasive trees were removed, which just highlights the improvement achieved just through power washing alone. Underneath that picture was taken sometime last week. So you can see on the left side by the stairwell structure, that little section wasn't power washed, but on the right side that was finished. That was finished power washing. So it's good. The project actually had resulted in attention on social media as well, with one Facebook comment noting the Yankee Doodle Garage is getting some accent colors, and I kind of like it. We never get this ever. So I want to highlight that, and that the importance of the work that we're doing and the investments that we are putting back into the infrastructure through our fee model, which doesn't include any taxpayer funds to do all this stuff, all these projects, all the infrastructure projects, because this is part of infrastructure, but we're also going to be planning to do further infrastructure concrete repairs in the garage later in 2026. But back to the project. Actually, let me finish up with social media part. I encourage each of the commissioners to utilize your position to help spread this message and keep the positive look on what we do out there. Because I really think that this group can help do that. We do a lot of great things, and you should feel proud of the commission that you're running. So back to the project. So inclement weather has slightly delayed the progress. The rain really delays the painting, because if it rained on what is today, Wednesday? It rained on, did it rain yesterday? Rained yesterday, so they couldn't paint today because this concrete was too wet, but they'll start painting tomorrow. So it really delayed it. But I'm focused. We're getting the contractor to focus on finishing the Brunel side and River Street facades before the cold temperatures hinder painting application. I'm hoping to be blessed with better weather so we can try to get more than those two facades done before the winter. And I noticed, Peter, you had a question. You raised your hand.
No, not really a question. I just wanted to enforce what that comment on social media was, is that, it's only the very beginning of what's happened to the Yankee Doodle garage. But just the power washing, it's amazing. I mean, it must be a lighter facility. It's the amount of dirt that came off of that thing is tremendous. And you can see it in the pictures. But, it's something, and I think at least I'm guilty of it. A lot of people are guilty of it. You live with something for so long and just goes on and on and on. You really don't realize how bad it looks until you clean it. And then you go like, wow, I should have done this, years ago. So anyway, Brian, just wanted to appreciate the hard work that you're putting into this.
Thank you. I'm just one person, and I am blessed with a really good team. Our management company does really well on this as well. The contractor's working great. So it's just, we have a lot of things planned, like you said, Commissioner, and, the next thing that we're trying to get done is the updated lighting, because the majority of the reason why we're doing this is to make our customers and our visitors feel more comfortable being in this garage at night. So the updated lighting in conjunction with the cleaning of the ribs and the painting is going to make this a lot better of a place, a lot safer of a place to visit and to park and to just try to drive more long-term vehicles off the street in the garage instead of using those on-street spaces for the quick in and outs. So yeah, that's what's going on.
Well, and along with the similar comments about the outreach, certainly apply to this project. And I think that because of the outreach that you and Jim and Laz have done over the years at this point on this project, it's really brought a lot of support from like the Wall Street Association and the businesses that are there, and having them engaged in such a positive way with us and with this project is very important. And I think that plays right into the social media aspect that you're talking about. Once we have positive community support, then that tells me that we know what we can do to help foster that, and it certainly tells me that it tells us that we know what we can do to keep that alive. So it's exciting, and to have so many people rally around this project in such a great way, and now see it coming to fruition is terrific.
Yeah, this was before I started here in September of 23. When Jim and Garrett came here, they organized, this whole Wall Street Corridor project. They had a bunch of meetings with the community and got so much engagement on it that this is where it's led to. It's like, you know, they're seeing it happen and they're supportive of it because they had buy-in at the beginning. And I think that kind of mimics what we do with a lot of our projects that, you know, people don't see yet, unless you're in the Wall Street Neighborhood Association, unless you're in that neighborhood. I think it's something similar. And, you know, I'm going to say something Miss Cece brought up even last night, she brought up today, like, how do we get the community to really get engaged with whatever program or project we're doing? And, you know, I'm encouraged by that because I think that's going to help make any project, whether it's a potential residential parking program or any type of aesthetic repairs or anything we do for the community, just a lot better to, you know, it just makes it a better story for the residents of Norwalk because they appreciate it, they get feedback, and, you know, it's just all around an easier way for me to execute a project like this.
Yeah. And it's all done without taxpayer dollars.
That's correct. That's correct.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you. Great
yeah.
board.
And, you know, just before I hand this off to Rocky and the last team, I do want to inform everyone that there is an upcoming event this Saturday down in South Norwalk on Washington and North Main. It's the annual Halloween Night Fair. It's from 2 to 10 on the 25th of October. I went the first year I started. It's a great event. So I'm looking to see if I can go this year. I know my wife has a trunk or treat she wants to go because she spent like the last year and a half trying to get this whole nautical pirate decoration for the car. So I'm going to try to make it. I'm going to probably stop in the morning and help them set up, but that's what's happening.
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Rocky, I'll stop sharing so you can take over.
Good evening, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. Here to report the financial statement for the month of September. On the revenue side of it, for the month, we missed budgeted parking revenue by 4.3%, and this was due to the underperformance in transient revenue and violation revenue. We overperformed on meter revenue and monthly revenue for the month, and the underperformance for the month came in transient revenue came mainly from the Sono area, specifically the Maritime Garage, Webster Lot, and Haviland Deck. On the expense side of it, we are under budget by 11.2% for the month, and the major savings came from repair and maintenance, security services, parking program, and equipment expenses. Overall, we underperformed in total in revenue for the month, but that was offset by a saving in expense, resulting in 13.9% over budget in the fund balance. This month, the end of September was our first quarter. So for the first quarter that just ended, we missed budget revenue by 4.9% revenue wise. This was offset by 16.6% savings in total expenses, resulting in a 57% over budget in total fund balance. Assuming there are no surprises for the remainder of the year, we finished the first quarter at 56% of our full year budgeted fund balance for the year. So we are in a safe position with the fund balance, 56% of the total yearly fund balance being met within just 3 months operation. On the variance report side, there are two items that meet the explanation for this. The equipment expense is under budget for the months, and this is due to equipment that's ordered for the vehicles that are ordered from Ford that we haven't gotten the invoices for it. So as we get the invoice, that will be used for the budgeted amount. And parking program is under budget for the months, and this is due to the termination of the contract with DKA, and the new vendor that we have, Miranda, has not sent the invoice. We got it today, so once that gets processed in the coming months, you will see it, but it is way below what we were paying for DKA, resulting in a big saving. This is the full financial package for the month, and have an update on the 50 minutes usage. Still a positive reporting on the 50 minutes usage for the month of September. We've seen a 3% increase comparing it to a prior month usage. The digital version that we rolled out on 4 streets as a pilot program has about 90 transactions on the 15 minutes transactions customers are using. So we're getting a lot of tractions, 4,309 transactions in 1 month using, this is a good story to tell that people are actually utilizing the 15 minutes free parking for their in and out from the businesses.
Can I just add something really quick? So what Rocky's saying is the mobile solution that we've been working towards, it had how many transactions was it for the month? Was it 90?
Total of 90, correct.
Total
yeah.
of 90. So we're giving other options of doing that 15-minute, which is great. And when we kind of figure out how the signs are working on those piloted streets, one of them is River Street. We got Washington Street, Mott Avenue, and High Street.
That is correct.
So once we work out some of the kinks in the signage, we'll get those signs installed. And I think this number is going to drastically go up because it just makes it so much more convenient being able to get that 15-minute option from your phone instead of having to go to the meter to do it. Thanks, Rocky.
Yeah, no problem. And that is the update for 15 minutes usage. The rest of the package that we have that you have in your package is supporting document for the financial revenue and the operations. And just if no one has any question, just updating on the Haviland deck. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback from the businesses and the corporate offices that are within that area. The outreach that has been done and the accommodation that was done at the Maritime Garage. Just to add that what was Brian mentioned.
Excellent.
All right, with that I come to the end. Brian, you can take over.
So before we go, Jess and Peter, certainly it's a larger discussion when Matt and Judd are available, but I think we should talk about the reporting. I mean, Rocky has this down to a concise, presentation. But my question is, from each of us, what is it that's most important about what Cirrocks presents in his report, and are we getting it? And then what that says to me is that maybe there are other pieces of it that he could report on less frequently, so that we only hit the things that matter. Like what should we monitor, and what should we monitor more frequently, and what could be reviewed quarterly. So maybe quarterly there's a larger presentation, or something, because it's important information, and I think it benefits us all to hear it and see it. But I just want to make sure that we're putting together the information that's most important to each of us. And I think we are. I don't think we're off, by any means. But the reason I'm thinking it and I'm wanting to ask about it is, maybe it's too much information on a monthly basis. And we don't need to go into it now, but I would just ask you guys to put some thought into it. And when Matt and Judd, have the same request, then maybe we all have a chance to talk about it at a future meeting. Because Rocky puts a lot of effort into getting these reports ready, and if we think that there's a way to help him make it more efficient, then that's what I'd like to offer to him. He and I haven't talked about this. This is the first he's hearing of this tonight. So we should all put our brains together and just see if we're handling this the most efficient way, conveying the highest level of information that we need. And if everyone says we are, then perfect. But I just think it's a question we should ask every once in a while. And I think I brought it up a couple of years ago, and we wound up with some good input that brought us to today. So if you guys will think about it, I'd appreciate it.
Just to add for the record, Commissioner Ailey joined.
Oh, good. Hey, Judd.
Hi there, Eric, everyone.
So on new business.
So this agenda item is raising the topic for conditions assessment at our facilities, prompted by the recent garage collapse in White Plains. As a reminder, our current procedure involves conducting these assessments every 2 years with the flexibility to perform additional evaluations as needed. The 2025 assessments are currently being finalized, and our rep from Desmond will present the findings to the board upon completion or when we're comfortable with the draft for further discussion and action. So this is more of a point. I want to raise it. I want you guys to discuss it, ask any questions, and then maybe next month we'll have a little bit more info, or we can act on some of the discussion items that the commission brings up tonight.
So,
and it all revolves around the infrastructure improvements that we're currently doing, and just trying to keep involved, get these assessments that are very vital, just keep the procedures going. So I'll zip it.
So the current rotation is every other year.
Correct.
And are you thinking that that's not often enough?
We were thinking that if it's not often enough, we do one every year with a different firm with an opposing opinion, so we can at least see how differing the opinions are, so we can maybe take both the strong out of both of them and act on that. That was the thought right here of doing them more.
Well, Jess, Peter, what do you guys think?
I think it's important. What I don't know is who currently does the assessments. Is it somebody in the Norwalk government? Is there no?
So we work with a firm, Desmond Structural. I forget their full name, but our representative's name is Ken Sugarman. He did the assessments in 2023. A lot of the work that we're doing today were based upon the findings from that conditions assessment. He's a structural engineer or architect, if I believe. I'm not really sure
Okay.
what kind of things. Yeah, so he does this throughout the industry. He's very well versed, and he does a really, in my opinion, very good job at these assessments.
So
what do they normally do on facilities? Do they do it annually or every 2 years?
Last year when we talked about this subject, I think last winter, maybe it was February of 20, well, it was last year, February 25. We recommended doing every 2 years with the flexibility. We have pricing to do it with Desmond every year if we want to leverage that. If the commission says, you know what, maybe considering that, a garage collapse in White Plains is something that can, it can raise some issues and alarms. So we just want to try to be ahead of the game and just get differing opinions, just to, make sure that all of our facilities are in a state of good repair.
So would you look into, if you were going to have somebody else do, like every other year, someone else would do the assessment, would you have a different kind of assessor also, I don't know if I'm asking this question properly, but the assessor, the current assessor is an architectural, there is an architect, and I forget what you said.
He's a structural,
Structural.
his main profession is structural. So he deals
Okay.
with these structures throughout the industry. So I would think we'd want to do something similar.
Okay.
With similar credentials, maybe with a different firm, just as, I don't know, maybe it's overdose, maybe it's too much, but I just wanted to raise this issue up tonight just so we could try to put our best foot forward here.
Could we do a one-time for this year if it hasn't been assessed yet,
Well,
or
we're
if
doing-
next year's the off year?
So we're doing, the last one we did was finalized in 23. It was right before I started, and
Okay.
he's finishing up 25 now. So
Got it.
I would think if we wanted to leverage this, it would start July of 26 for our next fiscal year.
So the Yankee Doodle Garage is 50 years old. Do they give a lifespan of that type of building, precast concrete and so forth? I mean, it's
I don't really know if it's,
upkeep is key. I mean, that's for sure. It seems
Yeah.
like it's pretty well kept up, but
I
do
think,
some,
I think that's a good question. Sorry to cut you off, Peter. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, you got it. It's, or these engineers, these structural engineers, they say, well, the life expectancy of a building like that is 70 years. And then, and that's what you're working towards. I'm just not sure what that expectancy would be.
Sure. And that's a good question. And I would defer that to Ken when he would present the assessments to the board. And I feel like he did this in the past with the group. It was before our time, Peter. So there was a presentation on that, which I would expect to do once we get a little bit further along in these assessments. And it's a
So,
good question to
Brian-
ask Ken.
Brian, just so I'm clear, you're suggesting we have a different firm every other year, one firm year one, a different firm year two, and alternate like that. I mean, I spend a huge amount of my life maintaining buildings, I don't
Mhm.
build new homes. I do remodeling, repair and maintenance, and I think it's a great idea, and I think it could pay for itself, particularly having two different structural engineers or forensic architects look at it. Have different opinions and catch different things that the other guy may miss. So I think it could pay for itself.
And it could be something we do, like Jess was saying, for, like 3 rotations, so 6 years, and then, or even 2 rotations, but if they don't, one thing that could happen is, the firms might, the next round would be done by this alternate firm if we do this. I wouldn't want I wouldn't want them to feel like they have to find more in order to justify their position. So, if there's a way we could just sort of keep everybody calm and not out analyze each other, just so that they feel like they're earning they're fulfilling their scope, and then see if it's producing. My sense on our assets overall, they're and I don't know what surrounds the White Plains situation, but our assets are not teetering on disaster in my mind, and I think, like the Haviland, finding those issues and dealing with them is the best. Obviously, it's the best medicine. And Peter, there was a presentation about lifespans of garages, and when Desmond, when he was here, or when he was on one of the calls, and so I think it would even possibly be a good question for Desmond. Do you see a benefit in having us ask you to do this every year, or do you see a benefit, and what would the benefit be if we had another firm do it every other year? And see what he says, because giving somebody the opportunity to revisit more frequently could be very productive also. And then rather than a fresh set of eyes. Because, so I think, you can never, safety is key, and so if, given what happened in White Plains and it's happened, happened in Florida a few years ago. And so if for us, if we have the opportunity, if we have the ability to do it, and we certainly have the funding to do it, it couldn't be a bad thing in my mind.
And it really shows what the authority was intended for when it was established in early 2000s.
Right.
I agree with I think it's a great idea. One other question, just to educate myself before I firmly stamp my opinion, but I assume for parking structures, there's building codes for any kind of structure. Do you happen to know how often building codes for something like this change? And are the assessors bringing those to our attention, or is it just suggestions as to repairs that need to be made?
I don't really know about the building codes, but
It's a
Okay.
2-year cycle, at least in the residential world, and I would assume the commercial is. There's in the residential world, there's building inspectors, municipal building inspectors from all over the country. They get together and they make recommendations to improve the codes or remove old, outdated codes, add new codes. So I would think the commercial world is like that. So
Okay.
I would say so. And then obviously, if code changes, then existing structures get, grandfathered or, or something.
Yeah.
So the change in code doesn't force us to go back and rebuild something.
Okay.
But if we make modifications to it up to I think this is the case. If we make modifications up to a threshold, then we have to bring everything up to the new code.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you're doing regular maintenance and repairs, I don't think that would trigger a full requirement to bring the entire facility up to the current code.
And is every other year considered regular maintenance?
Well, the report spells out or points out recommendations for us to address. So I think the intention originally was give it to us every other year. We'll spend 2 years addressing things, and then we'll basically update, from there.
see how the investments that the authority Park Norwalk is putting forward in financing on how it's bettering the facilities, or it'll show how, a $4 million projected infrastructure project that we paid for, you could see that the longevity over time on how those repairs are affecting the facility.
Mhm.
And then the reports also help us in our budgeting. So if we know what projects we're taking on,
Right.
then we could build that in.
Okay.
And budgeting happens annually. So if the report, maybe we should ask each engineer to still give us a 2-year report, even though there'll now be overlap of the time periods of each report, instead of asking them to give us 1-year reports.
Yeah.
If you follow. But I think it's a great idea, and I think, given the fact that, a Tesla truck, I think, weighs over 6,000 pounds, I think. Can it go on the second floor of Yankee Doodle? And I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's something we should try, but it might become overkill at some point.
So I'll start doing some research on this. I'll reach out to some of the firms that I've met throughout, just my time in the parking industry, get some info, and then, maybe during Ken's presentation, I'm hoping to get him here next month. you know, the board can ask him those questions and let him, you know, give his professional opinion on it.
Yeah, because these would be, I mean, let's say we have two separate engineers. They're not, this isn't a peer review, so we're not asking them to look at each other's report
Correct. For their own.
and build on it. So the you know, the two perspectives being completely separate, I think that would be a good way for us to see if in the end they're kind of redundant. You know, if they're both finding or saying the same things, then I think it's overkill at that point, and we, you know, go back to every other year or go to one consultant for every year. But I don't know what other trigger there would be to tell us if it's redundant, other than the reports coincidentally turning out to be so similar.
Right.
Yeah, I think ideally they wouldn't know about the other firm,
Yeah, I would agree.
right?
I mean, the worst thing I think that could happen is they come out with reports that are so dramatically different. Then it's like, okay, now what? You know, is it all this combined, or is it, you know, you would hope that they would come out to be similar.
Well, yeah, but I also think, you know, given Cirroc's years of experience working with the parking authority and understand, you must understand some of these reports and maintenance issues, right? I'm sure you do.
Not to that level, Chad.
No, not, I don't mean to an engineering level, but even, you know, as a residential contractor, I can understand these reports, most of them, and what they're recommending, and, you know, I can
Yes,
see
when
where
we
things are
do,
going wrong.
when we
So-
do our walkthroughs of the facilities, don't let Rocky fool you. Rocky be like, yeah, we need to take care of this and that. And it's like, yep, it's on that conditions
And you,
assessment.
Brian,
Rocky.
I mean, you have lots of garage experience, right?
Yeah, I feel like I was born in one.
I hope that's not true.
It's not. It's not. Some may say Cincinnati's like a garage, Jess, but you know.
Some may say that.
So what we're saying, I think, between the and all the discussion is, we all think this is a good idea. Brian, is that enough for you to go to the next step, or do you
Yeah.
need?
Yeah,
something
I think this is a good discussion. I have some targets I want to hit. Then I'll bring what I find to the board in short order. And
Okay.
you know, Ken will be here. I'm trying to get him to schedule. I'm trying to schedule him for November's meeting. So we'll have that assessment hopefully by November. So you'll hear more about what's going on today. From
Okay.
we did one, we got one from the first one we got in 2023.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
So I think it's old business.
Okay, so this is the you know, Miss Cece actually did most of my job earlier with giving an update on the residential parking ordinance. As with, you know, last month, there's no action or discussion that's needed at this time because it's still a proposed ordinance. It hasn't gone to full council to allow the parking authority or Park Norwalk to take any action yet. It's something that myself, Rocky, even Jim have been researching and thinking about for a long time, because this is the overdue thing. It's just we've never had an ordinance that we can act on. There's a lot of work that went into getting to where we are now. In your package, I sent the old language. They added some language to this one that's presented in front of you today. I will update this. I'll add this to the packet and just republish it. I'll amend it just so it's for the record. But this version is going to be presented at the Common Council next Tuesday. The updated language is included in the one in front of you. But you know, the outcome of the council meeting will provide clearer guidance for Park Norwalk's role with RPP. So long overdue. I'm looking forward to the work it's going to take and engagement that we have to do when the time comes for Park Norwalk to do this.
Brian, is it too soon to ask questions about the logistics of this?
I think it's a good discussion point. I don't think it's too early. If you want to discuss it, it's out
Well-
there. I mean,
Well,
Go ahead.
I don't mean discuss the document you have on the screen. I mean logistics of us to add this layer to the operation.
I think it's fine if you want to kind of dig in a little bit.
So
I just don't
okay.
want, what I don't want to happen is we discuss this for another 30 minutes and then Tuesday it doesn't pass and it's just back to the drawing board. And, I want to
Yeah.
be respectful of everyone's time.
Yeah, all right, yeah, I'll stay out of the weeds, but I guess the biggest global question I have is who tells us how our current operations need to be modified to absorb this program?
This group.
So let's say the majority of our parking assets are South Norwalk, Wall Street, and East Norwalk. So what if the farthest reaching street in Norwalk decided to sign on to the program? How do we step so far out of our concentrated area to service that street?
And it's a good question because this would be an ordinance that affects the entire city bounds of Norwalk, right? So if there's a need for a residential zone up in, I guess Silvermine, we would have to build the guidance, the procedures all built into that to see how we can effectively manage that area. Some of them, like Jim was saying yesterday, some programs are proactive in enforcement, and some of them, like today, sometimes we'll get calls saying, hey, someone's parked in front of my driveway. Can you help us do that? Before the state changed their law, the authority, we had no power to go do that. We had to defer them to the police, and the police would do it. But it's like, why can't Park Norwalk go address someone that's parking too close to a fire hydrant or too close to a corner? So that legislation changed, so we can send our enforcement officers there to help away from the metered areas to go assist something as important as blocking an intersection, blocking a corner, a fire hydrant, those types of things.
So when we put together whatever the framework of this is, it'll be that framework that we're asking the Common Council to approve, or the ordinance committee to approve.
It would be the Common Council. So how this is written, it says that the oh my God, I can't even see it. It gives the power to the authority to develop the guidelines and basically the program to run, right? To get all the procedures in place, put it through a 30-day comment period for the public, go to a public hearing with the authority, and then after an action is taken on that program, we'd have to another 30-day of comments, and then if the authority's happy with how that plan is, it would go to the Common Council for an up or down vote. And if somehow the Common Council is not happy with it, they downvote it, and then it goes back to us to tweak it or edit it however we may deem fit.
Okay, so then back to whoever puts the framework of all this together. I'm just at this very early stage. I don't know that I have the expertise to put together an ordinance that covers the entire city with all of the programmatic needs and requirements that would be necessary. Are there consultants? Are there I know there's, I'm sure this has been done in other parts of the country. And I don't
Yeah.
think this is something, I don't think you can add this to your plate, because it's a big effort, to get that, particularly to get that first round put together. So would we be looking to, engage someone to assist or to lead it?
I think that would be one of the first recommendations that could be before you once this ordinance gets passed, right? I'd appreciate getting some help from some of these consultants. I've talked to many of them at the trade shows I've been to just throughout my career. Residential parking is their bread and butter. They've done it. They've helped municipalities. They help municipalities organize a program that is unique to that municipality. And within that municipality, some neighborhoods are different than others. So they really push for public participation and better understanding and holding those types of meetings. So I'm looking, I would potentially, I think right now I'd recommend getting a consultant to help. It would be the authority that would form a work group to figure out the procedures in the plan, so we can put our best foot forward in this process. And like I said, we're not there yet. I think once the Common Council gets through with this ordinance, I think we'll be in a better position to take action on this and help understand the concerns that you brought up tonight.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you. So if no one else, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah. Oh, Eric, just, I don't know if you know, New Haven has a residential permit program and Stamford does too. And Jim has headed up TMP equivalents in both those cities. So,
Oh, good.
he's got a lot of experience with it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Not the fine detail. And I think the idea of a consultant to help us guide us through this is a great idea, but we have someone on board here who's got experience.
Excellent. That's good to hear. Thanks, Jed. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So if there's nothing further, then we could have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jed. A second?
I can second.
Perfect, Peter. Thank you. Everyone in favor or aye?
Aye.
All right, awesome. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.
Good night.
You too. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.